In this video, we're going to go through 334, which is talking about graphing a real world system. So first we were given a story. We're going to be asked to write equations, graph it, talk about the solution, and answer some questions. So this says Dana's Dancing charges $10 initial fee and $20 per hour. Bella's Bayando charges a $40 initial fee and $10 per hour. In the space below, write two equations, graph the system, and identify the solution. Okay, so the first thing I want to look at is Dana's. And so we want to write an equation for each of these. So Dana says we have $10 initial fee and $20 per hour. Well, the per hour is the part that makes us think there should be a variable there because we have $20 per hour. We don't know how many hours we're doing it. So I'm going to have y equals 20 is my rate of change or my slope. And then I have some sort of a variable there. I'm just going to put an x. And then we have to add on that initial fee, so that $10. Bella's is set up super similar, but in this case, they have a $40 initial fee and $10 per hour. So I'm going to have y equals $10 per hour, 10x, plus $40 for the initial fee. So now I have these two equations and I need to graph them on this coordinate plane. And I want to start by labeling everything and making sure I have some scales. So down here, our independent variable, our thing that the slope is affecting, is our hours. So depending on how many hours I have these two places, or I go to these two places, depends on how much money I will pay. So then my dependent is my money. And so hours, it probably makes sense to count by ones. But then for my money, I really want to look at well, how much am I spending? And so for this one, I'm spending $40 at least and then 10 more each time. This one I'm spending $10 at least and then $20 each time. So I think it probably makes sense to count by 10s or maybe 20s. Just to be safe, I'm going to count by 20s. By safe, I just mean that sometimes we make our graphs too small and then we can't see where these intersect on the graph. So I'm just going to count by 20s. Okay, so now we get to the graphing part. So both of these are in slope-intercept form, so it ends up being fairly easy for us. So our y-intercept for Dana's is $10. And then my slope is 20 over 1. So I'm going to go up 20. And that does not mean up 20 boxes. It just means I'm going up 20. So if I start at 10, I'm going up 20. That's 30. And that's every hour. So every 1 hour. So I'm going up another 20 and over 1 hour. Since I don't have a ruler, I'm just going to do a few more dots. And so this is what my graph should look like. Except imagine a straight line. Okay, so now I need to do the exact same thing for Bella's. So this time my B value is 40, so I'm starting up here. But my slope is only 10, so I'm going up 10 and over 1, and so that means from 40 I'm going up to 50, so that's half a box and over 1, and then up half a box and over 1, and up half a box and over 1, and I keep going, but I get the point, and we really only care about where they cross, and I can see that. So my solution is where these two lines actually cross. So that is this point, which is 3, 70. Then I'm going to be asked a couple questions. These questions are different each time, but they basically just ask you about like when would you choose this one, or when would they be equal? So question number 1 says, when do the two companies charge the same amount? We kind of already answered that, but we need to now answer in words. So it says, when do the companies charge the same amount? which means this should be an answer given in time. And so they charge the same amount at 3 hours. If it asked you how much do they charge when they're equal, well, then it would be $70. Or they could say, when and how much do the companies charge the same amount? And be after 3 hours, they both charge $70. Question 2 says, will it ever make sense to go to Dana's? Why? So Dana's, let's remind ourselves, is the green one. And so if I'm looking at when it would make sense to go to Dana's, I'm looking at when I'm going to pay less. Well, the green line is lower than the red line this whole area. So I want to look at like how much time that means. So from 0 hours, which no one would pay for, up until 3 hours, it would make sense to go to Dana's. So I'm going to say, if you go for less than 3 hours, that would make sense. If you go for less than 3 hours, it would make sense to go to Dana's because you're going to charge less. But if you go more than 3 hours, then you can look and see now we have Bella's is lower. And so that's really what we're looking for, is like when is each going to be lower than the other or the same.